Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zyman, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zyman and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy. Business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsuranceguy.com. And Elder Care Services of DeKalb County. Safe, secure, and supported. Helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdekalb.org.
Welcome into TD Ryan Unleashed Sports Bonus number 2. Of course, Sports Bonus number 1A was Ethan Storm signing with the Tampa Bay Rays, a 13th round draft pick. And of course, Sports Bonus 1B was the Sycamore State Championship track team with Dylan Hodges and Aidan Wyzard. And as a matter of fact, I have a gentleman in the room right now who's coached all those people right now. It's legendary. I'm going to use the word legendary. Joe Ryan, a football coach with the Sycamore Spartans for at least 22 years. Joe, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All-time winningest coach, I should point out, too. I know you have so much respect for Pete Johnson. I want to ask you about Pete, but again, congratulations on what you've been able to do with the program. I'll talk about these guys. You know, Ethan Storm, we had a pleasure of talking to Ethan when he was about to go sign his contract with Tampa Bay, and you had coached Ethan a little bit, too, didn't you?
Yeah, he played outside linebacker for us in one of our semifinal years in 2021. Tremendous kid. You know, I mean, he's a tremendous baseball player, played really well for us at outside linebacker, and, you know, he's a multiple sport athlete, and I think that's huge.
And two of the players from the track team we had here was Dylan Hodges and Aidan Wyzard. And Dylan is such a solid kid. I just so impressed by him.
Never seems to have a bad day, does he?
No.
You know what I mean? He's always having fun, and that's how he played for us, too. You know, I mean, he knew when to lock it in and play really well, but he also had fun at what he was doing, and he was a joy to be around.
And Aidan Wyzard, what can you say about Aidan? And I should point out that both of them are going to play multiple sports in college. It's great to see that. Tell us about Aidan. I still remember that DeKalb game with him making that big play.
Yeah, right. We talk about some kids are fast. Aidan's fast. You know, and that really helps you, you know, become a smarter coach. You know, let a guy run really fast and then have a Division I football player throw him the football. You know, that's great coaching right there.
Now, what about getting players from the track team? I know that was fairly common for you, right?
Well, I'm an old track coach. I've
Okay.
been a track coach many years ago, and I love the sprints and I love the hurdles. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. Ran track, you know. So I love the aspect of track and football together.
Do you want your players doing different things? In other words, I know some of your linemen were throwing the discus there, but do you want them just running events, or what? You know, ideally?
Well, whatever fits their body type, right?
Okay.
You know, I'd rather not our lineman being a distance runner and
Right.
losing weight, but yeah, I think it's important for kids to be involved. You know, everybody wants that next step and be a D1 player or this and that. There's nothing like high school sports, and that's why I've stayed in all the, you know, for 38 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. So let's talk about your career. You started in 2004 at Sycamore. Now, it says here, this is off of AI, so I think some of this might be wrong. Dale Graves, I thought it was Daryl Graves. Was Dale Graves you replaced in 2004?
Yeah, Coach Graves, yep. I took over after.
But is it with Dale or Daryl? Because
Daryl.
It was Daryl, that's what I thought. And then Daryl coached for you as well, right?
Yeah, a great friend. We've developed a great friendship over the years, and you know, he's a great person, and it was awesome having him on my staff all these years once he got out as well.
How was that transition? Did you just ask him, would you want to be part of it, want to stick around and keep doing this? And
Yeah, you know, I felt like he was such a positive impact on kids, and kids really gravitated to him, and I knew that doesn't hurt your program, right? You want guys that kids want to be around, and he's a really good coach and is a really good friend.
Now, it says your coaching philosophy here, Ryan emphasizes organization, techniques, and strategy, especially in light new rules of limiting contact practice time. Now, I knew you were adamant about that at the time, right? Coach, tell us about that contact during practice time. Where does it stand now, and is that where you want it to be?
Yeah, you know, it's what things have changed since, you know, I started in 1988 as a young 18, 19-year-old coach. We do it differently. And I'm not saying the way we did it back then was wrong. It's just the way we did it. I think with greater research and better equipment, I think there's more enhanced ways that you make practices better. And I don't think the rules that they've come up with are bad. It's just change. And sometimes coaches or people in general have a hard time with change. I never felt like I had a hard time with that. You know,
Okay.
there's So some people might think that about my offense or whatever, but when it comes to coaching strategies and practice format and those types of things, I was very interested for me to be able to change and try to get the best things for our kids.
And we saw you do that. You were essentially, I remember, a running coach per se, running the football a lot, but then you changed to a passing game, and then you kind of went with a mix of the two, right?
Yeah, I think we became a more multiple offense because of that. It allowed us to be able to enhance or to really use the talents of the kids that we had that year and all within our system. So it's not like we had to make anything new up. It's just that we had some balance and we could maybe lean more percentage on one side than the other.
Now, player development he has resulted in development of numerous college and professional athletes, including two NFL players. We're going to talk about the Neiman brothers. But do you coach thinking that they're going to want to play college football, or do you more emphasize just what's happening right now?
I love for them to have a dream, and that's great. But I coach high school football.
Okay,
you know what I mean, and I try to get the best out of them. And when you do that, then if they have the potential to continue to go on, you're helping them reach their potential. So that goes on to the next level, and that goes beyond me. But if they have those opportunities, and obviously we've had some that have had that opportunity, but there's a lot of God-given talent that those young men have had to be able to do that, and I'm just happy to be part of it.
And finally, AI points out the longevity. Ryan has been coaching from, and they say 31 to 38 years. We know it's 38, depending on the source. He has been supported by his wife throughout his career. I think that's a safe statement to make.
Yeah, my wife has been with me ever since I became a head coach. Both once you start off as a girlfriend and then a fiance and then a wife. So for 33 years as a head football coach, she's been right there with me, through good and bad. And there's been a lot of good, but there was also a time in that we lost 16 in a row. So, we've seen the downside of those things as well. But, I've said this many times. I was only as good as the support I got at home, and my support was tremendous. She never wavered on that, and I couldn't have done it this many years without my wife, Tiffany, for sure.
And your lovely family? Tell us about the family.
Yeah, Jackson and Luke, both are, I'm kind of a little bit jealous they're still coaching today because Jackson coaches at St. Lawrence, so they're in the 6A semifinals versus East St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
And my youngest son, Luke, is down in Unity in Tolono, and they play their rival St. Joe Ogden for the semifinals. So it's like the old times when they were younger and we had to split up to watch their youth sports. We've been splitting up. She's been going to watch one. I'm going to watch the other. Now we're splitting up and going the other way this week. But that's part of my plan for this retirement. I want to chase them around. They chased me around and been a lot of games. Now it's my turn to go be around them.
Now, nature versus nurture. I always love to ask that question. Do you think that if you weren't a football coach, that they would be football coaches?
Yeah, that's hard to tell.
It is.
It's pretty. That's pretty much been our whole life. So I'm sure it had a lot to do with the reason why they wanted to become coaches. And both of them coach track. One of Jackson's a head track coach at Simeon, and Luke's a head track coach at their middle school down there. So they're heavily involved in athletics.
That's awesome. Now you coached your last game here this year, and I see a quote. Now again, I don't know if this is you actually saying this or not, but it's been a few years since Sycamore coach Joe Ryan felt the emotion of a senior playing his last game. But that's exactly how he phrased his thoughts after a terrific coaching career came to an end Saturday with a 42-14 loss to Curry Grove. Was it like a final game for you, Joe? Was that in your head there?
Yeah, because it's just, that's it.
The finality of it?
Yeah, right? So, and that's what the seniors go through every year. Because the majority, we talk about the Neimans and we talk about Burt Goucher and all those, and we've had a lot of players that go on and play. A lot of them don't. Right, so those are the lasting memories they have, but it's the last time you don't go out and play pickup 11-on-11 football with full gear, right? You can go play basketball or be in a slow pitch softball league or even be in baseball. You can't do that in football.
That's
so
true.
There's some finality to that. In coaching, the same thing as a football coach. That's it. And this is all I've known since I was 18, 19 years old. So it was a little tough, but I knew it was coming. It's a decision that I'm good with. It's not like I've been wavering. It's something I knew that was coming, and that doesn't make it any easier. It's just that I know it's the right decision. Okay,
yeah, and I was joking, you were mentioning some of those early years when you coaching with Sycamore. There were some tough records there, 2-5, 4-3, 2-5, before you guys really got on track. But I remember talking to you years ago about Geneva when we were in the same with the Western Sun, I believe it was, and you talked about that football high school establishing a program to just bring new players in when the time came. And I noticed that at Sycamore, you did that same thing. You were able to establish that program to bring new players in, different types of players, and still make it work.
Yeah, I think once you build that foundation, I think you get the kids that want to be involved in it. Early on, we probably weren't getting all the kids that we really wanted to get, because we hadn't established ourselves as something that people wanted to be a part of. Then it got to a point where, I feel like almost everybody wanted to be a part of it. And, in a school our size, you need to try to get as many of the good athletes out as you can. And we've been very fortunate that, one, we've had some really, really good athletes, but two, they've come out and trusted our program and had a lot of fun with it.
Great quote from Chauncey Carrick, who came to Sycamore in 1993. The athletic director said, quote, meaning you, he came in and established a program that's been steady and a model of what we need to be successful in Sycamore. That's just what you're talking about. It's a model that people can see, and I want to be part of that, right?
Yeah, I was very fortunate as a young coach. My head football coach, Rich Kaler at Metamora, asked me to start coming back. I didn't go play college football. I wasn't the biggest guy,
no.
Right? So, but I always had that. I was a captain of all my sports, and I was just always, he felt like I was a leader. So he brought me in, and then he left, and then my brother Pat, who's been my biggest mentor, got the head coaching job at Metamora, and I started off, being a sophomore coach. So I coached there for 5 years as a college kid, right? But I learned a lot about how to grow a program by watching Pat and what the Metamora tradition has always been. So I knew what the roots were and how to do it. Sometimes it just didn't get there as fast as we wanted to. But I think as long as you don't waver from what has been successful, but you've seen other people be successful, I think you have a chance to build things, and I always believed in that.
Oh, great, Andy. There's a commercial on right now where they said if your mind had the football mind of Tom Brady, and he's looking at charts and always drawing the schedule. Were you like that as a kid? Were you obsessed with football and plays? And
we were always playing. I don't know that we were drawing. We were just always playing sport. I think that's a problem with kids nowadays. I don't want to act like I'm an old-timer,
but
one of those type of guys, but they don't get out and play enough, right? So I think we learned the strategies of just doing by going out and playing. But it's funny that you say that. My son Jackson is currently driving a car that, that I gave him over the years, right? And he said, it's funny, he pulled out a note card that had some of my drawings on it he goes, do you know what you're drawing? I go, I have no idea. I got note cards and, legal pads all over the place that I've drawn on throughout the years. But yeah, once I got into coaching, I was always drawing.
That's awesome. And you said you're an athlete, basketball, baseball?
Not baseball. I ran track and played basketball and played football. So I was a 3-sport athlete, not one of those guys that was the first off the bus type of guy. But
okay.
I always felt like, and I think people that would remember me, I always played hard, and I always respected those guys that were, like my size, that were high school football or high school basketball players, not college guys, but just played hard and for the love of the game. And I think that's how I try to coach as well.
Oh, very good. We're talking to legendary coach Joe Ryan about his retirement from Sycamore High School. Now, I had the honor of interviewing Pete Johnson years ago, and I remember Pete telling that he grew up across the way from a football field, and he said that kind of shaped his life, how he's going to read the rest of his life. You didn't grow up across from a football field, but how did you get into coaching ultimately?
Well, it's funny you say that. The football fild was our side yard.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right? Yeah, that was the Ryan's yard on the south side of Metamora. That was where everybody came to play football.
Awesome.
So it kind of was. It wasn't like Pete's situation, but I've just been around sport. I have an uncle that was in the George Pratt. That was one of the first classes in the Coaches Hall of Fame, who coached at Aledo. Now, I wouldn't say that was my mentoring guide. My brother Pat was the one that really got me going in the right direction as a coach, and I can't say enough about the direction that he helped me get to.
And of course, now you start in Eureka, 1993. I was wondering, with Pete Johnson, did you take anything away from Pete? Did you tap into him for advice early in your career there?
It's funny, we had a lot of conversations, and he would always look at me. He goes, you can't coach the way I used to be able to coach. And I go, you're right, coach. There'd be some I'd probably be in jail. But there was just a different. It's like I said earlier, like in 1988, you coached a different way.
Right.
It wasn't wrong the way he was. Just that there was just a different style of doing things, and his players still love him. Till the day he died.
Yeah.
You'd see that come out, and they respected what he was trying to bring out of them.
Yeah, well, emphasis on education. I know you have that same thing as well. But let's go back to 1993. You started at Eureka College. What was that first gig like? Were you nervous? What was it like having no experience coaching?
At Eureka High School.
Oh, you were high school. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I knew everything, right? I was 24 years old. Well, actually, I got hired. I was still
That's right. In the 20s, we know everything.
Yeah, I was still 23 years old. So, I just knew, and I think the reason they gave me the chance, that town's right next to Metamora. They knew the tradition that Metamora had. I had a lot of people that put a good word in for me, and they gave me my chance. And, I had some really, really good kids. I had one of my first players come to my last game at Sycamore and was at the Morris game. He wanted to see me coach, and he was on my first teams. That these guys are 48 years old now. And I say that, I'm like, gee whiz, because I wasn't that much older than those guys.
What does that mean to you that they would make a special trip like that? I mean, that really says a lot, Coach.
But I've always thought that I enjoy the wins, and you hate the losses, but the relationships were the most important things that I wanted to develop. And I think over the years I haven't always got it right. I'm not a perfect person, but I feel like I've made a lot of relationships with a lot of great kids, grown men now. A lot of them have reached out. It's been pretty meaningful to listen to their voices on the phone or text messages or emails to and then for them to kind of recall some of the stories, and you kind of, ooh. Yeah, back in those days when you could still do that stuff.
And then we're on to the Princeton OU Tigers, and you take the Tigers to the 4A semifinals. Talk about that in 2002. That must have been a special year for you.
It was, because that was hard because, like I said, we lost. I lost my last game at Eureka, and then we lost our first 15 in a row when we got to Princeton.
Ouch.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, right? And they're probably questioning me too. At that point, I was all of 25 years old.
Were you questioning yourself then, Jim?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I was a heartbeat away from
just chucking it.
Yeah, and I think I had an important phone call. The Lord leads people to you that you need, and again, it was just my brother called me out of the blue, and I just I said, I don't know, and he just, like an older brother, he didn't talk to me like, he let me know, and it was a meaningful conversation, and the next thing you know, we're turning things around and became a really good program at Princeton.
That's awesome, too. And then, of course, on to Sycamore. We'll talk some more about that. But I want to talk about your physical education. You're the chairman of their physical education department chair at the high school. And my father was a physical education teacher, and I highly respect that profession. And I always convey, I lost him at a young age, and I still remember the story. I get emotional thinking about it because I'd go with him to the school, and he was in charge of opening up the closet to get all the basketballs out. And when Mr. Ryan is here, and all the kids would follow us there when he opened the closet. It was just a magic moment for me as a kid to see what that was like. But talk about physical education, if you would, and why it's important, and what does that mean to kids?
Well, it's activity. We're losing that.
And that was my favorite thing in class, favorite subject in school.
Right? It should be. It's the most important one of the day. It's just, but that's how I've always felt. I mean, there's movement. Life is about movement, and you got to give them different, and things have changed. There's a different way that we do physical education now, but we give them more options, but it's all about movement and give them lifetime activities so they can take it further. It's not just like the four walls, obviously, at Sycamore High School. They need to have the knowledge, be able to take and have some. It should be fun, right? We shouldn't make physical education something they don't like.
Right.
It should be something that they really want to do and can have fun with and go. I get the biggest kick out of this pickleball craze, right? Everybody thinks like this is a new thing. We've been playing pickleball for years, right? Physical education, but now it's the craze. But you never know. It might be that activity that you taught them that they find and they take it on. It's a great lifetime activity.
Yeah. When I was in Queen of All Saints, we played floor hockey, and I'm working over at Hayes Gym right now, and she got the floor hockey sticks out, and boy, I was ready to play right then. I mean, love that sport.
Kids love that. You could play any type of game. It's even like the old, elementary school days. If you have them running around and they're having fun, they're laughing. Even the older kids, it is fun to watch.
I love it. That's great. We're talking to Joe Ryan about various issues. Now, I always thought he was a very serious guy. Scott Zach, our newsman, would always joke when I'd interview on Friday mornings and let's see if we get a couple words out of Joe and if he's not going to get angry at me for asking a stupid question. But Neiman and Raymond, this is Ben Neiman talking about you, says, Ryan always found a perfect balance between wanting to win while still having fun when the time was right for that sort of thing. He was serious about winning. He put in the work to do that, but would also have a personal relationships with guys and, quote, joke around, which I never thought joke around and Joe Ryan would be in the same sentence. But it sounds like we don't know you that well. So are you a little lighter in practice? Do you kind of have a lighter side?
Yeah, it depends on the moment. Right? Things are going well. No, again, it should be fun. It's not a job. it wasn't a job. And I don't know if it was ever a job for me. It was just fun, right? To be around kids, and it wasn't always easy. It's hard when you lose. It's not fun, and you have to sit on that. And unfortunately, I think as coaches, we don't enjoy the wins enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we move on to that next game, and the losses stick with you. In football, it's a whole week. I was probably a lot more fun to be around when we were winning than when we were losing. But, you know, I just wanted the kids to have a great environment to be around. And I can't say that every day that they thought it was fun, but I think the majority of the days were.
Now, I was a terrible loser, and I still am to this day. How do you deal with guys that are bad sports? Because, you know, I want to go and shake the guy's hand after he beats me, but I didn't. You know, I was just, my coaches would get on me about that, and I never quite got past it. How do you get the kids to come to terms with that?
I think society has changed a little bit too. I think the kids are better at dealing with stuff like that. To be honest, that they recognize that, you know, hey, they didn't get it done, but
It wasn't because of them, right?
Right, yeah, and they can just go over and shake a hand, and that doesn't mean that they accept losing. It's just, you know, there is a way to lose, you know, and I wouldn't say that I'm the best loser either, but you know, there's ways to lose, you know, and you got to do it the right way. And I think you got to, just like anything else, I'm a teacher and a coach,
right?
And you got to teach them the proper ways. You know, if I'm acting like, you know, I can't handle things, then that's exactly how our kids were going to be. You know, you got to get. I was always the first one to run right over and shake another coach's hand. Now,
okay.
I didn't necessarily. I'm not always happy that you lost, but
right.
You got to respect the time that they're putting in too, right?
Yeah.
And we tell the kids too, they're getting coached too, right? They're putting time in too, right? So it's got to be a level of respect.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Joe. Really appreciate that. Now, this is not me saying this. Loving and caring. Sycamore assistant coach Jake Countryman said those are exactly the two words that commonly associated with Joe Ryan in football. For the past 2 decades under Joe Ryan, that's what has stood out for Sycamore football, not just to Countryman, but to former players as well. And this is Jake talking. It's always been first and foremost about creating better people, as you just said there, Joe. He puts his players first no matter what's going on. If there's something going on in a kid's life, they feel comfortable coming to him. And like you said, you're a teacher and a mentor first, and football becomes secondary when there's a problem at home or something like that, right?
There's bigger issues. There's bigger things than football. Right? And we try to tell our kids that all the time. I mean, we make it really, really important. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's why we've been so successful. But we can also put that on the back burner when there's other things going on. And kids have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're involved. You know, and we're not only thinking about the wins and losses. We're hoping that their lives are going all right too. So you gotta see those things first in a person and a kid, and then I think the kids really will do just about anything for you as a coach.
Yeah, I believe that. So I was looking, researching, talking to you, and it's what percentage of high school players make it to the pros? And it's 0.023%. Roughly speaking, there are 1,083,308 high school football players competing, and eventually 251 will make it to the pros. A simple calculation, we can get to the percentage of student athletes going to pro, approximately 0.023%. In truth, the numbers are not encouraging for anyone eager for a professional football career. So you just said that, Joe. I mean, so realistically, you talk to these kids and you tell them about these hard numbers, right? About what them possibly making it to the pros, let alone even getting to a good college, right?
Yeah, those numbers aren't great for a Division I athlete as well. You know, unfortunately, you know, some of the parents don't realize that. You know, that's a little bit of the disheartening thing with it. You know, with all these travel things and all that, they just think that they're going to be the next guy, and there might be
right. They might,
but they're not. It's just that there has to be some realistic expectation. And with what's going on with college sports now, it's made it even more difficult for a high school kid. The numbers are staggering how low of opportunities they have to be a Division I football player, just because of people. They're just switching around.
I know. Do you like the portal with the whole thing?
It's not. It doesn't have anything with me. I understand. You know, why kids
would want to.
Should have the opportunity to do that. I think it's doesn't have a lot of control. You know, it's like the wild, wild west. And my brother coaches at Illinois, and he deals in the recruiting end of things, and it's just really, really difficult because it does come down to who's got the money and who doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sad for. I mean, it hurts schools like Northern. Let's face it. I mean, it's a money game, and there's only so much money going to come through a football program on those levels versus Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. You know, they can't match that. So But that falls down to a high school kid too, because now they're still going to fill those rosters, and they just keep filling them from other schools, or maybe bring them up from another, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a FCS school or whatever. So finding those spots are really hard, and you got to be a special player to fit in there as a high schooler.
Okay, and then I already say I want to talk to you about one of your players. Well, I'll do that here in a minute, but I want to talk to one of your players who did the ultimate, actually made it to the Super Bowl. Of course, Ben Neiman. Joe Ryan, head football varsity coach of school. He's been coaching for 30 years. Said he, during his high school days, Neiman was a star on and off the field. Now, what do you mean by that, when Ben was a star on and off the field?
You could be a really good athlete and not be very well respected. Kids don't have to like you. You have to do things to be respected and be liked. And Ben was one of those guys. It's just, he was just on and off the field. He was the same person. He wasn't. He was just and he is. He's a great person.
And his brother, the acorn, doesn't fall far from the tree there either with Nick, right?
Yeah, Nick. I'm just not around. I don't get to see Nick. Like, Ben came back and was on our staff this year, and to watch him, and it was just a treat to have him. And then he'd leave. He was.
He really? I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah, so he was with us, and then the Jets. He went with the Jets for a couple weeks, and then he came back, and then went out and was. He was still training to play this year. Still is. You never know when he might get that call in the NFL. But he was on our staff. But yeah, both Nick and Ben, and obviously Jay and Luann did a great job raising them. They're just great people, right? And
I love your quote here. He's the best player I ever coached, and you don't know it because he's just an everyday kid, is how you put. Humble, hardworking, and level-headed.
He's the same right now. You wouldn't know that he was a Super Bowl champion. He's up in the weight room in the morning working out, and
what a treat for the players. They got to be betting his ear.
Yeah, I don't think they realize how big a deal that is. We have two big banners in our weight room. One is Nick and one is Ben. And they get to see Ben up there every day, and they get to see him working out and do, just like they do.
And I should point out he was undrafted, right? An NFL undrafted.
Yes, and that's almost unheard of to be in the NFL this long, and the career that he had as an undrafted free agent.
Now, I have to mention Brett Weaver. Angie, who is a faithful listener. Angie, I hope you're listening right now, is Brett Weaver, of course, just a great, another great guy. And tell us about Brett and what it was like coaching him.
Brett was always a whirlwind, and I say that with all the love for Brett that he knows, right? That guy, there isn't the emotion and the energy that he played the game of football was second to none. He would run through a wall. He would, to get to a ball carrier, you know what I mean? And he would do anything for a teammate, but he just loved the physical part of football. And we won a lot of games because he was playing linebacker for us, because he was just a great player at that level.
But I was just saying at that level, because you saw, he played some college ball, right? Right? But
State.
Okay, yeah. But you knew, I don't want to say the limitations, but how far he might go. And
yeah, it becomes and Brett would be the first one. It's all about size and speed, right? He was a really, really good all-state linebacker for us. But again, there's a lot of 50 states all around.
Right.
There's a lot of really good all-state linebackers, and some of them were just a lot faster. And that's what it comes down to, that speed. You got to have size, strength, and then that speed factor, because that's where it's at.
But on the flip side, I think that's great that you guys got those guys up on the wall, because you also are telling your players, hey, this could be you. You could actually go all the way to not only the NFL, but maybe playing the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because it can happen.
Yeah.
Right. There is truth to that. And you know what? They started with very humble beginnings in the weight room, just like we're asking these guys to. But they did all the work. They didn't skip the reps. They didn't skip the sets. They did the work to get themselves. Now, they had a lot of God-given talent. There's no doubt about it. But they enhanced it and took it to its highest level. There's a lot of kids out there that have a lot of talent that don't work hard enough and that really don't hit their ceiling. Right? Those guys did.
Now, you were honored in 2024 a Coach of the Year by the Chicago Bears, a high school Coach of the Week. What was that like for you? I think you got to go to the stadium, right? Did you go to the game? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I was in 2013 after we beat Kalen and with Ben. I got that award as well. So I've done that twice. It's been a great experience. The McCaskies are wonderful people. Obviously Connor McCaskey played for us. So I've known George and Barb for a long time, and they're just great people, and how they treat that Coach of the Week thing and then take us in there second to none. It's just a really neat opportunity to go be a part of that.
Yeah, I bet that's a moment where you always remember that.
Yeah, yep, for sure.
And as I was doing this research again, I read Brett Goff over, talking about tremendous people. I see here, get you ahead in the game with Sycamore Youth Basketball League, founded by Brett Goff and Joe Ryan. Tell us about that, Joe. And is that still going? Is that still...
It's still a thing. It's not anything that Coach Goff and I have anything to do with anymore. But when I first got here, I couldn't believe there was a YMCA kind of youth basketball thing, and Brett was the head basketball coach at the time. I said, we're opening this new field house. This is when we just opened the field house. I said, man, we got to get something started. And I think he probably thought I was crazy being the head football coach thing, but it just goes back to I love sports, and I think opportunity for kids is important. So we started that, and we had a lot of fun on Saturdays working that. I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore because running around out chasing cats out there.
But you got tremendous turnout, it seems like.
We did. Yeah, we did. We had great numbers because there was a need, right? I mean, I saw that. There was a need, and so did he. I mean, it's not like I was telling him anything he didn't know. He's a head basketball coach. I think he needed somebody that was going to be able to do a lot of groundwork while he was coaching during the season, and I was willing to do that and had a lot of fun for those years that we worked together with that.
Now, we see you. We know you're the football coach, but I see you at basketball games working the board there and stuff. What else do you do besides are you coaching? You're still coaching other sport as well?
No, I gave up all that stuff. I was the spring sport coordinator for years with Chauncey, kind of like the assistant AD in the spring. So I was at all the spring sporting events and coach basketball when Coach Pick and we won the regional, got to the sectional championship back in 2016-2017 season, so that was awesome. But no, I unfortunately, when you go into the retirement track, I can't take a lot of jobs at the school because I'm locked into a salary.
Oh, okay.
So I got limited, but I enjoyed. I kept the book for years. I enjoy keeping a book at a basketball game and just be a part. There was a guy named Chuck Leonard at Metamore High School that was a teacher there and was a football coach, and he just did it for years and years and years. And I always respected that. And I said, well, I get an opportunity. I think you kind of pay it forward. I'm gonna do things like that.
That's awesome. I'm always amazed as coaches like you can recall like a game from 2018 and the third game of the year. And was there certain things to say? Because I remember talking to you and you saying the conference championship mean almost as much to you as possibly winning the whole thing. But tell us about that. Was the best seasons were the conference championship seasons?
Yeah, because they usually great records went along with that. Because if you win our conference, you're really good. I would say the one year that we didn't win the conference and we made that really good run in 2016 was a special group too, because we were 5-4 and nobody really thought.
Oh yeah.
We got killed in the beginning of the season by Sterling 38-6, and then we played them in the quarterfinals at home and beat them 29-22 in overtime. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw that group going to the semifinals. So it's very hard to win conference championships, but that was a really special group to go through for us. That's
great too. And then as we wrap things up, well, I'm wondering now, did you have was that your favorite year or 2022 again was another great one you guys had?
Yeah, it's you get in trouble if you start saying
right
favorite players, favorite years, all that stuff. There's countless memories that I think we created not only for our kids but our community, and to put a number one on any of them would be hard to do, but each year was special. Each group, even this group. I mean, it's hard because everybody's like, you went 5-5. Man, at the beginning, are you kidding me? We were like, let's get that fifth win. Let's get into playoffs. Let's see what we're doing. I just think it was hard for these guys because we played an extremely difficult schedule this year, and we lost a lot of top end talent, and we played a lot of young kids this year. So I think it was a little bit unfair to be judged against the other groups because I thought in their own right they battled. And for us that last week in the season to go 4.5 hours away to face a 7-1 Cahokia team, fall behind 14-0, and then come back and win on a last-second field goal.
A lot of people didn't think you were going to win that game, Coach.
Correct. That says a lot. One, I think about the kids that we had, but two, I think of the program. I think they understood that the level of the program. They wanted to keep the playoff streak alive, but I think unfairly judged by, you just won 5 games. Well, they did a heck of a job getting to those 5 games.
And finally, as we mentioned before, the coaches, and I think I'll circle back to the coaches as well, because I know you said it every time when I talk to you in the morning about how important those other coaches are to the Sycamore football program.
Well, I started off, you're only as good as your wife at home, right? And then you got to have really, really good players, which we did. But once you have those really, really good players, you got support at home, you better have some dudes with you in the office that know how to coach. And over the years, we had guys that just coach them up, and they believed in. But you all have to be on the same page,
Right?
And that's
I was going to say, how did you delegate that with the?
Well, you got to trust, right? And I'm not saying I always had the highest level. There's time that takes for me to say, all right, here's the range, you got it, because it's your baby, right?
Right.
You don't want to just give it up, but. We always believed in when we walked out of the office, we were all going to be on the same page. That doesn't mean those 2 hours that we were trying to figure out a game plan that there wasn't some knockdown dragouts.
You could have different philosophies, right? But
that's what I loved about our staff. I always called it a round table. I wasn't at the head of a rectangle table. It was a round table. Everybody had say in it. Ultimately, the microphone's in my face at the end of the game, so I had to make the ultimate decisions. But I trusted those guys so much, and obviously they paid dividends.
And for the fans during the game, help us understand what's going on there. You're not making all the calls. The defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. Tell us about how that breaks down in hierarchy there.
So just so everybody knows, all the good calls were made by me.
It's on the record now.
Yeah, right. No, I called the offense. And Rob Stover, defense coordinator, Jake Countryman have called the defense. Randy Zeidler's been a defensive coordinator for me, so they've called the defense. They've all worked really well together over the years calling the defense. Daniel Coover has been my special teams coordinator since former player for us.
I know that name.
Yeah, right. So, and then Ryan Lau was a special teams coordinator for us in the earlier days. So we got a lot of people that are involved. Had Ryan Stordo. My receiver coach, he was my spotter upstairs, often, passing game coordinator. He played at Whitewater, came to us in 2019. Great football mind. Had Brian Hutzler up there for years, former player. Brian Keeney coaches our offensive line, so he takes time, like I'm calling plays. He's watching those guys. He spends time with them, in between series, watching the film because we have the sideline video. So that I can, I can't be back there all the time. I got to be watching what's going on with the game, being the head coach. And certainly, I know that I'm leaving out. I had Kirk Countryman for years coaching linebackers and just helping me deal with my sanity. That guy was always my ground. He was always the guy that I could go to and just get grounded by him. And then when we had Hall of Fame coach Kevin Crandall from Rochelle, great friend of mine, join our staff in 2018 after he had retired from Rochelle. We'd always joked about it, and then it was like, hey, let's do this. And he came over, and that's not easy when you're a head coach that long.
Yeah.
And then I think.
So he offered up his services to you?
Yeah. And I think there was just a level of trust that we had with each other. And, that was a big coup for us to be able to get him on our staff for sure. And I got so many other. Alex Nelson's been with me 19 years. I could go down the laundry list of guys that we've had that just done a tremendous job coaching for me over the years.
That's great, too. Well, we did a couple of quotes there from Chauncey, but and then this is Countryman still says, Ryan is a tireless worker, and the players take note of that and emulate that. He added he's straightforward and caring away, and he's brought a true family feel to the program and the community. Now, I was trying to surprise you with one of the football moms. I learned that term. You guys have football moms at Sycamore High School, but they were all unfortunately busy at the time. But I know they wanted to say how much it was like a family. And tell us about the football moms. They would kind of be the liaison between the team and the fans, huh?
Yeah, they helped in a lot of different ways, and I've had a number of them over the years. The last 3 years, Tracy Bodie's been. It's like having a general manager, to be honest. And she just took care, whatever I needed. I could text her, call her, and she was getting things done for me. And obviously, there's been parents over the years because she's only been doing it for the last 3 years. But those moms get things done.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to say this the wrong way. Dads want to get things done, but moms get things done. Right? They just put their head down and say, "Oh no, we're gonna do this." Right? Maybe ask forgiveness later. But I couldn't do my job without what they do. They set up the Thursday night meals, and we have Wednesday night. And I know it sounds kind of hokey, we have Wednesday night treats.
No, it's not, because the bonding process.
It is, and I think the kids just love that sort of environment that we've kind of created. But it's I always say that it takes the entire group of people to make a football program. I'm just the top guy, but it crumbles below you if you don't, really embrace people around you and trust people to help you do it and go along the way. Now, there has to be trust. I mean, you just can't give the keys to the Cadillac.
Right.
But I was so fortunate to, and again, these last 3 years, it was like seamless for me because she took care of everything.
And I don't want to be controversial, but in terms of who might take over the program, would you at least prefer to be hire within? Maybe somebody from your coaching staff stepping up?
Yeah, I think we definitely have people within that are qualified that can do this job and take it further, and I hope they do. And I'm pretty sure that I'm hoping that's the direction it'll go.
And will you make yourself available to tap into Joe Ryan, some knowledge there, maybe those first couple of games?
Yeah, but again, I'm not going to be around as much because I am going to chase my kids around. I'm going to go watch them coach, but I'm always just a phone call away or a text message away, and I'm always going to want Sycamore football to succeed. So, but it's not. I'm not. They don't need me there to tell them how to do things. The staff that we have in place, they know how to do things. They don't need me to be watching over them like a mother hen. They know how to do it, and it'll be done well.
Well, the last line really sums it up. Is that and this is Countryman still. The kids know that that he, meaning you, has the best interest in heart, no matter what the answer might be. If they wanted to talk to him outside of football, they know there's always a there, and they'll give them the perspective on life as well. And I think that's more important than you being a football coach, Joe, is that you're able to talk to these guys on a one-on-one level and get realistic about what they might do in their future and their possibilities, and not sugarcoating things for them.
Yeah, sometimes I think I'm kind of honest to a fault. Right, and I think that's always helped me throughout the years. They know they're going to get the honest opinion. It's going to be a loving answer, but it's just going to be truthful, And I think that's better because sometimes for kids things are sugar coated a little bit too much, and then they get false hope, and then that drop off is even greater, to be honest. Now there's some kids that you got to get to and go, hey, listen, you're not even tapping in, right? You got a lot more to go. That's the motivational part. So there's a fine line with things, but I think being honest to a fault, and I think that the kids respected that. They don't always like it at the time.
No.
They don't always. But
right.
I've had some come back and go, I just appreciate that conversation. I didn't like it at the time, but I appreciate you, telling me exactly what you thought.
I had Alicia, the older woman from Sycamore here, and we were talking about, she works with the seniors and being physically and getting older, and you're a young man. I mean, you're a very young man. What are the plans now? Like you said, you want to chase the kids around. Will you say you're retiring from teaching now as well this year?
Yeah.
This will be the last year, or at least for now?
Yeah, I'm out of the business. I've never felt like too many days I worked. I went to someone that I enjoyed every day that I was going to. And I shouldn't say every day, not every day, but probably more than most. And that's why I kept doing it. And it's the energy being around kids. I've always enjoyed that, and that's why I had opportunities when I was younger to get involved with the college game, and I just thought that it was going to be a thing that I didn't want to be a part of. I always wanted to be around high school kids, and I would say the majority of the days are great. Some of them are a little bit trying, but at this point, I'm just going to take a year off and just kind of just breathe a little bit. I mean,
how long did it take you to get to this decision, Joe? Was it obviously your kids what pushed you there?
Yeah, I had a health incident about a year and a half ago, so that kind of opened my eyes to to what's really important.
It does. It gives you perspective, doesn't it?
It does. So that helped. But I could have kept coaching. Right? They would have let me coach as long as I want. I'm really grateful that not a lot of places that when you retire from teaching, they want you out the door all the way and bring in new blood and all that. But I could have kept coaching. But I always felt like the head coach needs to be in the building, and he needs to be a part of the school environment and the school community. And I think that's why it was time for me to move on to whatever's next. I don't know. The Lord, I said earlier, the Lord always opens up doors.
Well, I know I speak for the community when I say we are so grateful for Joe, what you've done, but more importantly, how you've molded these young gentlemen into fine people, fine citizens of America. It's great to see that. I know a lot of people are listening in the area. What do you want to say to the community for all the support you've gotten from them through the years?
Well, hopefully they they enjoyed it as much as I have. Hopefully that it brought enjoyment to the entire community of Sycamore, not just our football program or our school. And I'm grateful for their support. We always had support. I never felt like, although no one put more pressure on myself than I did myself.
Uh-huh.
But I never felt like it was a place that, if you did this, if you didn't win so many games, they were going to fire you. I think they appreciated hard work, and I think they always saw that, especially in the early years. Like you listed off some of those records.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best start, but I think they appreciated the hard work that we were putting in and saw some value in that. And then the success started coming from all that hard work, and I appreciate the patience.
All right, well, it was well worth the wait, I'll tell you, Joe. Joe Ryan, again, legendary coach, all-time winningest coach at Sycamore High School. Joe, whatever you do, hopefully we can get you back here, but we want to appreciate your time, not only for this, but all the years at WLBK when you come on with us, too, because I know, like I said, even after wins and losses, you'd come on with us, so we always appreciated your forthrightness, if not your short answers.
Sometimes people get a little nervous when I get in front of a microphone, but no, I appreciate what you do. I mean, that's coverage. That's coverage for our football program, so I'm going to try to represent and do well with that.
His name is Joe Ryan, again, our guest here, and that's TD Ryan Unleashed Sports Bonus number 2.
TD Ryan Unleashed is brought to you by Scott Zyman, your State Farm insurance agent. Scott can help you save money bundling your home and auto insurance. Call 815-748-3101 or stop by at 2587 Sycamore Road, Suite D in DeKalb. Like a good neighbor, Scott Zyman and State Farm are there. Pizza Villa, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more at 824 West Lincoln Highway in DeKalb. For delivery or pickup, call 815-758-8116 or go to pizzavilla.com. My Insurance Guys in Sycamore, family owned, local, reliable. My Insurance Guys cover Medicare to auto and everything in between. Call us in Sycamore at 815-899-0950. My Insurance Guy. Business, auto, home, life, and health at myinsuranceguy.com. And Elder Care Services of DeKalb County. Safe, secure, and supported. Helping you stay at home where you want to be. Call 815-758-6550 or stop in at 1701 East Lincoln Highway in DeKalb or on the web at ecsdecalb.org.